Hey everybody, welcome in for checking out this education piece. My name's Sherry and I'm here with Wyatt White, who is the product manager for Beeline. And if you want education, this is the man to get your education from. What we're going to talk about is a concept that Beeline came up with, which is taking larger wire and creating larger crimp tubes, which are just like your bead stringing crimp tubes, and enabling you to make bangles and to make all kinds of cold connections with those larger crimp tubes. Now, there's 5 different kinds of wire that you can use with those larger crimp tubes. They are the German round wire, there's artistic round wire, there's hex wire or hexagonal wire, there's the braid wire, which actually is one of my favorites, and there's the new 8 braid square wire. All 5 of those use these crimps, and so you can interchange them and you can end up making pieces of jewelry like this. And goodness knows, girls, who doesn't love to make bangles? I know I do. I know I do. And thanks to Beeline, we've come up with a very inexpensive way to make cold connections, thus setting you free to really design. So what we want Wyatt to do is to go through and just talk quickly about those 5 different kinds of wire and what the differences are, Wyatt, because I think people could end up getting confused with those different kinds of wire. So why don't we start with the German round? Or do you want to just draw the shapes of what they're like?
Yeah, I think we can start by drawing the shapes and talking about it. Okay. So German style wire is a harder tensile wire than the artistic wire. So if you want a round wire that works in these, you can choose either the German style, which is going to have a harder temper, harder to bend, easier to make into bracelets that will last a lot longer. If you bang them, they're not going to bend quite as easily as the artistic wire. Artistic wire, of course, is a soft temper, and that makes it a little bit easier to work with. So the 2 German style harder wire and artistic wire, softer wire, they will both work about equally the same, only one's going to be a little tougher.
Okay.
So if you think that you're rough on jewelry or your customers will be rough on jewelry, the German style will probably be the way to go.
Okay, that's good to know. That's a good differentiator.
And that's in the round wire.
Okay.
Then kind of the oddball out is something called, we originally called it artistic braid. It's not actually braided. It's a 3x2 twist.
And here it is.
What that means is there's, we take 2 wires and we twist it. We make long strands of that, and then we take 3 of those 2-wire twists and twist those 3 together, which makes it look like braid.
Almost looks like a Singapore chain.
Yeah, it's got that look. But if you were to unravel it, you would see that it's a 3x2 twist.
Okay.
So that wire is different in that it's thinner wires that have been twisted up and then all twisted together. So it will hold shape pretty well. It starts out with, of course, the super soft artistic wire, and as it gets braided, as much as copper can do, it becomes strengthened and hardened with all the work hardening that's going on.
And you can see that crimp. Hang on, I'll flip this around. And there's the crimp right there. So all of the wires that Wyatt's speaking of will use this crimp, this cold connection. Rather than soldering, you can now just crimp your bangles together. Right. So we've been through the 2 types of round. We've been through the braid. How about the hexagonal?
Well, I want to just jump back real quick. You mentioned something, the soldering. None of these wires can be soldered.
Right.
Well, the 5th and final wire that we're going to talk about can be soldered because it's all bare.
Okay.
Anything that has a silver plating or any of the other platings or any of the coatings, if you take heat to that, it's going to burn. So it's going to burn off the plating and you're not going to have a nice wire anymore. So very important. These wires could not be soldered, so they actually had to be wired together, or now you can use the artistic wire crimps.
The crimps.
And those are in 3 sizes to fit 16, 14, and 12 gauge.
Yeah. And what we found is that some of the smaller wires, 2 of them will go into one crimp, which completely changes, and the crimp holds it no problem, completely changes your designs there. So tell us about the hexagonal.
Okay, so the hexagonal wire is just that. It's a 6-sided wire. Sorry for my ability at drawing with a marker. That basically has 6 sides. Something similar to what you're seeing there.
Actually, it looks good.
Well, the points aren't quite as tight, but Sherry's holding up what this one looks like. You can see.
You can see those edges.
You can see the edges, and what that does is it gives you 6 different edges to be able to get more shine.
There you go.
But what you can also do with it is you can twist it. So you can take that wire, let me slide that in there, and you can twist that wire, and then you get all 6 of those ridges twisting, and you can twist it up as much as you want or as little as you want.
So I could have a bangle that is just the edges the way it is, or I could twist it and then make a bangle.
Looser twist, tighter twist.
Right.
Gives you a lot of different things to do.
And then add a braid wire in there. So you start to see how, oh, I see what you guys are saying. You can have layers and layers and layers of bangles.
Yep.
So there's the hexagonal.
And we're just missing the plane to pop in there.
There you go.
And you've got the 4 that we're talking about.
Yeah. So there's the hexagonal. Now, one of my favorites, which is the newest one out, Wyatt, is the 8 braid square wire. I love this wire. I do love it. It's brand new. We just showed this to an audience. So tell us about this one, because it also works with the crimps.
Yeah, now this, if I would have known into the future that we were going to have an actually braided wire, I think we would have named the artistic wire braid something different.
Yeah.
But now we're kind of stuck with it. So this wire is actually braided. So it goes on a braiding machine that's fascinating, and 8 wires become all twisted and tangled and braided together. After that braid wire is done, it's sent through the oven and to remove any of the oils that have to go on it because of all of the machining that goes on. So that material then goes onto another machine that makes it into the square shape. So it's round when it comes out of the braiding machine, and then it goes through the machine that makes it square, and it's made square, and that's where you get all those amazing flat edges. It almost looks like diamond cut.
It does.
The force at which it has to go through the equipment that makes it square just puts a beautiful sheen on it.
Isn't that? It's absolutely beautiful piece.
It's beautiful.
And
then
if
twisting
you twist
that, then you get some amazing stuff.
Now look at that. That looks like a completely different wire to me.
Now this wire can be soldered. You can put all kinds of different types of chemicals on it to hasten the patina
process. But there's your cold connections.
Right.
If you want to use the crimps and use the cold connections. And you know, Wyatt and I often speak about how these crimps can also be used as embellishments on their own.
Right. The tooth mark that's left in it can be embellished by simply gluing seed beads into.
Yeah.
You can glue different types of either flat backs or pointy back stones in there. You could line up little teeny tiny stony backs, little teeny tiny pointy back stones, and glue those in that little tooth mark as well.
Now there's a comparison for you. There's the braid wire. There is the 8-wire square braid wire, and you can see they are distinctly different.
Yes.
And this is the twisted version of this.
Right, the 8-wire braid.
Yeah. And then, of course, we have the hexagonal wire and then the 2 versions of the round. So there you are, folks. And all of them work with crimps. Just put them all together, and I'll just give you an idea of what your combinations start to look like. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that.
It's great stuff, and it gives people that don't necessarily know how to make jewelry the ability to make jewelry.
The ability to make jewelry, you're right. And bracelets of all things.
Right.
Because I'm telling you, bangles are tough without this kind of cold connection. So there we have it. There's the 5 different kinds of wire that you can use with those fascinating crimps. It's always a pleasure to have Wyatt White from Beeline here because we learned so much. Don't forget, anytime you have additional questions, you can send them to us at jewel.school@jtv.com. We'll see you next time.
Bye.